and welcome to the podcast, Appetite for Distortion, episode 220.
Look at that.
My name is Brando. I'm able to afford, thank you, I've been able to afford a studio audience.
Yes. Of four. Of three, I guess.
I encourage people today to, if you listen to the podcast on normal platforms like iHeart or Spotify, great, but head over to YouTube because this is going to be on YouTube. I should have been doing this for a long time, putting all the Zoom interviews I've been doing in quarantine on YouTube. So along with that, because I encourage people to watch, and I'll introduce my panel, I guess, as we go along. So with putting the stuff on YouTube, you'll see many an interview with, I guess he's kind of almost my co-host a little bit. He kind of comes back. He's not quite my Ed McMahon, but maybe he fills in for me. I don't know. What do I call you, Mark Alexander Erber? I don't want to say you're making a cameo.
I got it. Your co-pilot on certain episodes.
Sure. I like that.
There you
I like
go.
that.
Yeah.
So it's been great it's kind of been like by a happy accident. It's not like I started out searching out golden robot artists. It just happened to, of course, talking to Alex Grassi and Dizzy Reed from Hookers and Blow and Gilby Clark, and you've introduced me to so many great people that we have up on YouTube now. And one of the people, and again, it's not like I planned this. It's not like I am Team Golden Robot now. And oh, by the way, it's not like you didn't pay me, so Mark is not paying me for this. If you're looking on YouTube, I'm holding this beautiful sweatshirt.
Show us the front. Brandon, you got one, I'm sure.
Yeah, so this is I would be wearing it now. It's real. Wow. My girlfriend's jealous. She's like, "That's nice. Like, have him send me one." It's gonna take a while from Australia.
Brandon got one. Didn't you get a T-shirt? Did I send you something?
I don't have any golden robot.
I got it. Just when we get off this, you give me your address and Todd's address, and we're gonna represent.
Okay,
perfect.
Cool. Well, I'll gladly rep some golden robot merch. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
I did wear it for a few days because it was cold here in New York, but now it's just become hot again because it's weather by Sybil, as Robin Williams once said. But as Mark Alexander just kind of introduced our other guests, he wasn't talking to me. He wasn't just calling me Brandon and not addressing me at the same time. We have another Brandon on the show who's been on before, Brandon Fields. You may remember him. He was on the episode. I had Bootsy Collins on, and Brandon was my second guest. And well, first of all, welcome, Brandon. As I get past the awkwardness.
Thanks for having me back.
We already went through the awkwardness of me saying my own name. Yeah, but it's great that you're back on the show because we got your story. I encourage people to, if they missed it, to go back and listen because you're a huge GNR fan. You're in a GNR tribute band, but you reached out to me through email, and I didn't know. I think it was maybe you reached out to me the day or before or after you signed to Golden Robot. I had no idea. You were just a listener of the podcast who, I'm working on music with Todd Kerns. Whoa, what is that about? So with that being said, if you're watching on YouTube, you're like, why are you waiting so long to introduce Mr. Dammit? I still have to approach it kind of like radio-like. But it's amazing. Todd, I guess mentioned it was episode 220. You were gracious enough. You were in one of my first favorite interviews. I think it was episode 49, or it was in the 50s.
Yeah, early days. Yeah.
Nice.
So Todd Kerns, thank you for joining us and what I can officially call, because Brandon, when you were on, you did not have a name for this project, but now we do. And what's that name? What do we got?
We got Minefield.
That's correct.
I loved it. So how did was that a brainchild of Mark? Because he's great at naming things. How did Minefield come about?
Mark is the one who definitely pushed us towards using an actual band name. So we kind of brainstormed some stuff. And Jeremy Asbrock, the other guitarist from Ace and Gene's solo bands, he kept kind of pressuring me to use something that kind of had my last name in it because I kind of orchestrated this whole thing. So,
I didn't even think about that. Okay.
Yeah. So we had a different name that I submitted to them, to Golden Robot, and everything was supposed to be done. And then, the whole next 24 hours, that name is just it's just in my ear constantly, and I'm just like, I fucking hate this name. And so, then just the next morning, it was literally, I woke up on the couch, and within like a minute or two of being awake, I thought of that name, and the first person I texted was Todd. And I was like, hey, man, what do you think of this name? And he's like, I think it's great. And then texted Jeremy, and he's like, I think that's the best of the bunch. And so then I had to email Mark and all them and be like, hey, you know that name that I gave y'all yesterday? We're not using that. So luckily,
is that a hidden secret? Is that something that's
think
just
along
left?
the way, I think you gave me some other names, and I think I just said, nah, I didn't like them, something like that. But I definitely didn't want you to name it after you, as in, the brand, Fields experience, or whatever you.
Yeah, well, the whole situation kind of changed too, because whenever the plan to use that name was, when I reached out to everybody, they were just supposed to do like a guest appearance on a track or two.
Yeah.
And then by the time we're working with Golden Robot, it's all four of us on every track on the album. So it definitely made more sense to go more of a route with an actual name, because it was more consistently a band throughout the album than just these guys coming in and working with me on a track or two. So it was the right route to go for sure.
See, that's amazing. We got, Brandon's story about what it's like to be a fan, and then reach out to these guys like Todd Kerns and like actually have them work with you. It's again, not just on a song, on an album. So Todd, I wanted to get your perspective on it, because you were talking off the air a little bit about some other work that you do, just like creating songs for commercials. And obviously we know about, your solo stuff and obviously with Slash and everything.
Right.
So you must always be approached about people from people who want to work with you. How does that process? Because they can't all be as talented as Brandon. You must get instances of people wanting to work with you, and you're like, my email is
yeah. Well, yeah, but I mean, I think at the same time, it's kind of like when it comes from guys like Jeremy and Matt. I think there's a sort of a mafia kind of. Do you vouch for them? Because if you vouch for them, then yeah. If you don't vouch for them, then no. So Matt was sort of like wasn't as entrenched in it as Jeremy. Jeremy has firsthand. Jeremy's the only one that knows everybody individually in a sense. So when he came at me and said, we're doing this thing, it's rad, I think and usually when it's somebody I trust like that, it's kind of like, okay, I'm kind of like in if they're excited about it and they think it's got real potential and it's going somewhere. So from there, it was sort of like talk to Brandon, listen to the stuff. And once I listened to the, a couple tunes and we started to kind of knock things around, that's when it really sort of, took fire. But I think that it's also the perfect timing, because there was a lot of sitting around, watching Sopranos again or something, and it became like, hell yeah, I would love to start exercising this, this muscle up here again,
So because you were talking about, Jeremy Asbrock and Matt Starr, they play with Ace Frehley and Gene Simmons and Mr. Big. So where's your relationship with them? Or is that just like musicians you guys all meet on Saturdays? Like, how do you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's see you on Saturday for a bowling or whatever. I know those guys through, Brent Fitz, the drummer in Slash's band, The Conspirators, he was playing with Gene Simmons initially. So it was Jeremy, Ryan Cook, Phil Schaus, and Brent Fitz. So, that three-headed monster out of Nashville, those three dudes, like all blonde, all bell bottoms and no sleeves. I was just like, who are these guys? They're amazing. So, and I just fell in love with those guys, and we did Kiss cruises together. And, I saw them play with Ace. I never saw them play with Gene, but I saw them play with Ace, and they were just amazing guys and amazing players. So getting to, when you respect a musician, regardless of whether you know them or not, it's kind of like, you go, yeah, it sounds like fun. Again, I suppose every step of the way we might have, first kind of like jammed a couple of riffs and it didn't go anywhere, and that might have been the end of it. But the fact that, we just sort of jam some stuff and it turns into something that's cool, and then away you go.
Right on. And so I don't know if it's always the same, like how Brandon was kind of like, and I appreciate you helping me with the email and setting up the Zoom and getting I'm like, when Mark's like, oh, we got to do another episode again. I'm like, who do I reach out to first? Do So when it comes to the band, especially when you signed, is it up to you, Brandon, that's kind of, reaching out to Todd, reaching out to the other guys, and reaching out to Mark, or is it now because it's under Mark's umbrella, or are you kind of taking charge and kind of maybe guiding Brandon of kind of what to do and how to put this all together? Like, how does that? Because you're not all together. You know what I mean? Like, so how does this all work?
Has definitely given me a lot of freedom as far as what to do is pertaining to the album for the most part. And I can respect the hell out of that. That is something you can't really get from everybody. So as far as that goes, they've been super awesome to work with. But I would still say for the most part, it's me orchestrating a lot of it, but not to say that, not to discredit anything that Golden Robot's doing. They are obviously doing tremendous work for our PR and marketing. But as far as the actual handling of the band, I would per se that's still mostly done in-house for the most part.
And that's the way you want it to be done, because, you don't want to start getting involved in management. And I remember when Guns N' Roses toured Australia, actually I've still got it on my fucking desk just to remind me how much I hated it. But when Guns N' Roses,
you have your VIP pass.
Yeah, when Guns N' Roses toured Australia last, and Rose Tattoo, one of our bands, did the Sydney and Brisbane show, I think. I don't know how, it was a few years ago. I had more time, but I ended up being tour manager. I ended up being I fucking hated it. And I hated it. I remember it was like 40 degrees in Brisbane, and I had shorts on, and I was getting chafing on my thighs, and it was a fucking horrendous day. Although the access was fantastic and you could watch the Gunners from the side of stage and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I met Frank for the first time, which then led on to us doing Pisser. And I met Dizzy, which led us on to Hookers and Blow and everything else. So that's why I like always living in LA, because the networking is so good. But that's when I met all these guys. And I knew Richard Fortis anyway, and he was introducing me to everyone. So it's fantastic. But so my point is, we don't try to get involved with management or anything like that. What we try and do is just stick to what we're good at. We're very good at distroing. We're very good at PR. We're very good at marketing. We're very good at networking, very good at listening to songs and giving the bands as much or as little help as possible. Brandon knows what the fuck he's doing, and he's got great people working with him. So why step on his toes? Let him do what he's really good at. Let us do what we're really good at. And you've got this perfect fucking scenario. And it works, and it works for our bands. And the ones it doesn't work for, you move on. But 99.9 it works.
Forgive me if I've asked you this before, Mark. Is there something that you look for? Like, is there something that within a band? Because there's a lot of band. It seems like every day there's a great new band signing with Golden Robot, and I was like, oh my God, it seems like they're gonna be like a conglomerate at some point. Golden Robot.
We are fast becoming. Yeah, I like to send all the musicians ladies' clothes, and if they wear them in public, then we sign them. And Brandon took to this little leather mini skirt like I've never.
Hey man,
He's still wearing it.
Whatever puts the food on the table. Man.
That's it. Man, you know what it is? Can I tell you what it is? You've got all these different types of bands, right? And at the end of the day, it's about obviously the music. The music's got to be good. You don't want to be putting shit music out. But you know what it is really secondary to that is the people you're working with, because there's so much money involved in this. There's so much time, there's so much effort, and it takes so much effort to just get a single out and do it properly, that you want to be working with good people and that appreciate. I mean, I had Kelly Nichols call me the other day, and he said to me, mate, in 30 years of being signed to some of the most high-rated major labels in the world, I've never worked with anyone like you, where I can call you on a Sunday and you'll pick up and answer the question and work with me, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm very passionate, as you know, Brando, about what I do. And I feel very fortunate to be in this position to have these record labels, et cetera, and work with guys like Brandon and Todd. I don't take that for granted for 1 minute. I feel very privileged to be in this position and to take their music to the world. But that gave me tears in my eyes. And it was just so, because you don't often get feedback, but not like that so personally. And I was certainly driving one of my supercars and I nearly went off the road, but it didn't happen. So it's all good. But at the end of the day, mate, it's working with good people. That's got to be primary for me and our team, and they appreciate what you do. And otherwise, what's the point? I mean, I've got a couple of people that we've sort of moved away from because, yeah, I think we did a great job on their album. They didn't see it like we saw it. It's like, what's the point? You know, life's too short, man. Go and get someone else to do it. I'll work for the people that appreciate it. So it's finding good people. And that's why I Zoom everyone, Brando. That's why I talk to everyone. That's why I get a relationship going before we sign anybody, because then you know that it's going to work.
Todd, you've been nodding your head the entire time. It seems like you seem to agree, because obviously you've been around the block. You know, the thing that comes to my mind is because it was just recently the anniversary of World on Fire, so you know what it's like to work for other labels. And is Mark just you know, is he pulling you know, a sheet over eyes? Is he just hyping himself up, or is he telling the truth?
Well, if he's answering the phone on a Sunday from one of his artists, then yeah, that is an exception to a much, much larger rule. Now, a rule that's been around since long before we started doing this, you know what I mean? And I think that that's kind of, you know, if that's the case, then by all means, that's you deserve all the kudos in the world for that, because it's, you know, we've all been through the ringer. We've, you know, except for Brandon Fields is, he's just getting his toe wet in this whole thing. I remember, I used to be managed by Ray Daniels, SRO from Toronto. He was the manager of Rush the entire time. Oh, wow. And I remember talking to him once, and he just had this kind of thing, like, he said, well, you know, when I was like 26 or something like that, he goes, well, it's too late to get out of it now. You know, it was kind of like, well, you're in it now. You know, you're kind of like, it's almost like if you were a little younger, I probably would have given you the advice to go back to school and get a life and, you know, move to a small town and forget all this, you know, being a pirate or a cowboy or a superhero. But I just had too much superhero and cowboy and pirate blood in me. I still do, which is basically just means you're in a state of arrested development, I guess. But yeah, no, again, I think if someone would answer my calls on a Sunday when I had a question about something going on, that would be something I would 100% largely respect, for sure.
And I can vouch for that. Every time I have to email Nardia or Victoria or Mark, everybody always gets back to me in very timely manner, and they always very helpful with anything I have to email them about. So I'm very grateful for that experience with them.
It's so important now, because just how badly the industry is suffering and not being able to play shows, and just you got to all be on the same team and work together and figuring out how to survive. I mean, I don't know. I know the least of all of you of what it's like to survive in a band. So Todd, you mentioned before you were eager to do something as you're bored. So I mean, how are you surviving right now? I mean, I'm glad, you know, Minefield is happening. So that's one thing, but I guess what else are you, how have you been occupying your time? Are you working on other things? Are you watching Netflix? How you doing?
It's a little known fact that I fight crime during the night, but that's a whole other,
right.
That doesn't pay at all, by the way. That's just out of the goodness of my heart. Honestly, I've been so, it took me a long, I've told this story 1,000 times, where the first couple of weeks, I'm the kind of guy, I've always got 1,000 plates spinning, and I've always got stuff going on. I got to go over here. I got to return that phone call. I got to change and check the emails. And I've always got a project going, well, usually multiple projects going. And it took me a couple of weeks when everything kind of happened with the quarantine to kind of power down. Like, I still felt like I got to call somebody, I got to be somewhere. And so in all honesty, I enjoyed it more than I should have, considering how, you know, it's a pandemic and all that. But, you know, eventually things started to become, hey man, what do you do about this song that I'm trying to put together? You want to sing on it? Of course, you know. And then it slowly kind of turned. In a lot of ways, the Minefield project was one of the first things that really kind of got me back off the couch, basically. Oh, cool. You know, it's kind of like Netflix is always my friend regardless, so I don't need to be convinced to go watch something. So when it was like nothing else to do, I was like, I'm gonna just check right out. So you know, Bruce Kulick and I are constantly working on music. Slash and I are constantly working on music. But because it's just a bizarre chapter as far as what do we do without live shows, it just became like, you know, the fact that we actually have music that's out there right now with Minefield is an exception to a much larger rule. Again, it's like we have a song out there and it's being played, and, you know, it's really exciting for me, because most of us, in my mind, I just imagine just sitting around waiting until something happened. And sometimes you just have to make things happen. So when things like, when you close that door and the window opens wide open and Brandon Fields is looking through the window going, come make some rock and roll. I'm like, all right. Well, it's funny how that all happened too, because when we first started talking, it was like, Brandon's playing guitar, Jeremy's playing guitar, Matt's playing drums, obviously. And I was like, well, who's playing bass on this? Well, we don't know yet. I go, well, then I guess I'll play bass. You know, it was sort of like one of those things that just kind of weirdly fell into place. I'm the bass player for Slash's band, so what the hell? I may as well just play some bass on this. And it, you know, it just all kind of made sense in that moment.
What do you prefer to play, bass or?
Well, I started on bass. A lot of people go, well, we know you as a guitar player, because when I kind of started to become known, my little brother picked up the bass in my absence. I was out on the road playing bass and all these bands. I was a bass player singer. I like to think I was Sting or Geddy Lee, but I was probably neither, like not even close. You know, then my little brother picked up the bass and we decided to put a band together, and that was the band in Canada that went on to do stuff. So I just moved out front, Paul Stanley my way around the guitar, and that's sort of where I live in one or the other. So some people know me as this, or they know me as that. I always have people go, it's weird to see a picture of you with a guitar on. And I go, wow, because it's like other people tell me, it's weird to see you playing bass. Or sometimes I'm singing a show with no guitar. It's just kind of like, I consider myself a musician that way. Like, I really love music. I love making music. I love playing music. And that's one of the fun things about when I moved to Vegas. It became like, it's Wednesday. Our singer's sick. Do you want to come down? I'm in, you know, or whatever. Play guitar, play bass. I was just happy to be doing it all day long, all week long, making it my life. And then if you would have told me that at 14, 13 years old, that's what I would do, I'd be like, I guess that's the dream right there.
Wow. I mean, absolutely. And it pays to be so versatile. I mean, that's why you're able to do so many different things and be so,
well,
and continue your creativity.
It's a jack of many trades. I don't know what kind of a king I am of any of it, but, you know, I do my best.
Is there, I mean, I don't know if I can say, is like, what's the plan? Because obviously the plan is that it's changed. So what is the plan for Minefield? I know we have a new single out, and slowly, I know how Mark likes to do singles at a time. What is there anything accompanying?
It makes perfect sense right now to do the singles, because you don't just want to put an album out and then sit on your ass for a year before you can go out and tour for
Build the foundations.
Yeah,
exactly.
So right now the plan is that we just put this first single out with the lyric video. We actually are working on an official video for that right now. Todd's friend
Alone
Jimmy
Together.
Romero
I probably should mention that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Todd's friend Jimmy Romero is putting together a video with us for that. So we got that to look forward to coming out as well. We've got another single that'll be out before the end of the year. We'll announce a date for that whenever it gets closer. But I mean, we've definitely got stuff lined up to where you're not going to get bored after one release, and we're not going to release too much to where, like I said, we've kind of, you know, shot our shot too early. So I think the whole plan for this right now is kind of what I said. We just have multiple things to keep people interested, and I definitely love Golden Robot's approach to doing that. It's good because I've seen other labels put albums out like in the middle of the pandemic, and now those bands don't have anything else to promote right now.
The good thing about your music is, and with Todd and the other and all the other boys involved, is it's very authentic and it's good music. And it's sort of really right for this time, 2021. It's really right for this time. I mean, can you imagine when these guys can play live? It'll fucking blow the roof off places. So this is the kind of music you want to hear on vinyl. And this is the kind of music you want to see visually with video clips, et cetera, et cetera. So it's almost, it's relative to today, no doubt, but it's almost old school as well. Like when you listen to Alone Together, and I've got to say to you, Brando, and answering your question before, I try to sign stuff, and obviously there's a huge team involved. It's not just me deciding.
Yeah, sure.
Sometimes if I just fucking love a song, we just want to be associated with it. And when Brandon was sending me the demos, I just got it up now. There was 4 or 5 demos. You know, you're listening to them, you go, oh, I like this, and you want to hear it in the car, or you want to hear it on your headphones, you want to hear it here. So it's the kind of music I'd listen to anyway. So it resonates with that kind of audience. So it's exciting when you've got something that's authentic. When we're looking at what's going on in the world, and I know, Brando, you and I have talked about this a lot on your podcast, but the world is so fucked up at the moment, and unfortunately in America, it's on a whole lot of things, it's a mess. Let's not go there. But at the end of the day, it's so good to have something authentic and real that you can spend, you know, 2.5, how long is the track? However long the track, 3 minutes, 31 seconds in something that's real, because we spend the other fucking 23 hours a day listening to bullshit on the fucking radio and on the TV. At least I can spend 3 minutes of something that's real. And that's why I love it. And that's why it's working.
Yeah. Yeah. That's actually a really good way to say it. Because I think it's also the nature of the song is we didn't really, even though the funniest thing about it is we were talking about it today, how Alone Together, really the concept of the title to me was sort of about the pandemic, in that we're all together currently. You all 4 of us are here together, but we're all alone at the same time. And it sort of created not just during a pandemic, but during this modern day of interaction with people. We talk to people all day long, but in text form, you know what I mean? Or in email form. And like I said to Brandon earlier today, I said, sometimes I'll run into somebody and they'll be like, dude, I haven't seen you in 3 months, high five. And I'm like, it feels like but I talk to you every single day. So I always have to go, oh yeah, right. Yeah, we haven't physically seen each other in a long time. So Alone Together in and of itself sort of, you know, but I think that the together part to me is the important part. So it is meant to be somewhat uplifting. The song itself comes off as fun, as uplifting, and it's the escapism of rock and roll. I didn't want to write a whole album about what a drag everything is, you know, because if you want it, you could just turn on the TV or look out your window or pick up a newspaper, and that'll remind you of that. I think it's music's job once in a while to take you away from all that as much as possible anyway.
And you know what? The whole world is so full of all these, and I'm guilty of it because I watch them, you know, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills in New York, or Paradise Island, or Bachelor, or whatever. And so you're submerging yourselves into other people's lives, and submerging yourself into stuff that just isn't real all the time. And, you know, and then you've got the political side, like we just said. And that's the one thing about your band, about Minefield, and several other bands, obviously, on the label, that are real. And you can tell that each player, as good as you all are separately, together, you're really enjoying what you're doing, and you're writing something that you're actually, I was going to say proud of, obviously proud of the stuff that you do, but it's like the excitement in what you were doing has come out in the track, so that you enjoyed playing it, you enjoyed producing, mixing it.
Absolutely.
You can listen to that fucking song and you can hear that. So again, it takes you away from the bullshit and into reality. And you know what? Sometimes, as much as everyone's complaining, you know what? This actually, on some things, some levels, hasn't been too bad. Whether it's you've got to spend more time with your family, or you've got to write music like this, or you've got to re-look at your life. So this song is about sort of celebrating the okay stuff that's going on at the moment. That's the way I see it anyway.
I'm glad you got that out of it, because that's really kind of what I was hoping people would. It comes off as relationshipy, you know, and I think that some of my favorite songs are songs that kind of seem like, you know, you think it's a boy and a girl, but it's about something slightly deeper. And I think that at the same time, I always like to let people figure out their own take on the song. So even the fact that we're about to make a music video in 4 different cities that's going to come together is the Alone Together again. You know what I mean? It's sort of like Nashville, Los Angeles, Las Vegas, and in Kentucky, it's just going to be like, you know, my partner, Jimmy Romero, my thing is like, if there's some way to unite all this, so it's going to be, it's kind of the fun part of this day and age where everybody's making videos that look like this, where it's 4 different guys. But if it looks like a music video where it's just, we're as together as we can be, I think that's really cool.
100%.
I'm looking forward to that. Just to seeing how that. Have you started working on that?
Yeah,
Forgive me if okay.
Matt and Jeremy have already finished filming their performances for it, and then now me and Todd just gotta do our parts. So,
Exactly.
but yeah, it's a cool concept. We're all shooting a green screen, and it's going to be kind of edited together to where we look like we are together, like Todd.
It's gonna be
said,
straight porn behind us. It's gonna be unplayable in any market. Just kidding.
Nice. Hey, you'll get a lot of views that way, I'm sure.
Yeah, on like Pornhub or something like that. Yeah.
What comes to
Pornhub Premium, don't worry.
Premium.
We don't want
they want to advertise me on Pornhub. They go right ahead. That's a lot of traffic right there.
Yeah, that is a lot of traffic. But it'd be a lot of disappointment if they came and watched us. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, they'd have to start over.
Yeah.
I think that actually reminds me, there have been like music videos that somehow end up on porn sites.
Really?
I think even during the whole, GNR leaked stuff. I think they're even leaking stuff on porn websites sometimes. I'm like,
so not because it's X-rated material somehow, just because it's
no. I think only Rammstein's stuff gets on there.
I remember that one. Good Lord.
They're allowed. They're allowed.
You probably put the "It's So Easy" video up there.
Sure.
Oh, maybe. Sure. Yeah.
But what comes across, and I've said this, Mark he's the founder and CEO of a record label, but he comes off as a fan. Yeah. Todd, you travel the world, you're successful, but you're still a fan. Brandon, I mean, you're on your way, but that's why I had to, have you on in my fan obsession segment.
Yeah.
So I got to ask you then, and that's one of the blessings, again, from this pandemic for me, is being able to do more of these video interviews. So I get to see Todd. I get to see, people who I interview instead of just always being over the phone. So Brandon, were you, because I can't help but geek out and be a fanboy sometimes. Were you like, hey Todd, let's go play some Age of Electric, or let's play some of World of Fire, or your other bandmates. Let's play some Kiss. Has that happened?
Yeah.
There's definitely been instances where during conversation where I've almost like started to fangirl out, and I'll catch myself. And I think there's been a time or two where I've apologized to all the guys. It's been like, sorry, I just started rambling or something. I would say it's happened less with Todd about Slash, ironically, than it has just talking like Ace with Jeremy or Matt, one of them. Because I'm sure, as you can see, this wall behind me right here, just a major Kiss head. So just as much into Kiss as I am GNR, it's almost at the same level. GNR still edges them out, but it's still, the obsession is there. So there's been a few times where I've definitely let the fan side of me slip out, but Jeremy and Todd and Matt and all them are the first guys that will tell you that they are also fans as well. So it's not as much of a situation where these guys might be like, God, this kid's just rambling about his favorite band. They're relating too, because these guys will tell you they're fans of these bands just as much as anybody else is.
See, that's how I feel, Todd. If I ever, and I've said this before, if I ever, one day get the opportunity to interview Slash, I feel like I would just geek out to him, not even about GNR, about horror movies. I'm a huge horror movie freak, and I love that he's so into it, and Del James, and I guess you can see him geeking out now, a little bit about it.
It's nonstop. He's one of those guys, and I have quite a few horror movie friends because I love horror movies, but I'm actually like more of a movie buff than I am a horror movie buff.
Okay.
So I'm saying like I like good movies. So whether it's a drama or a horror film or a science fiction film, as long as it's there are people who like science fiction and will just watch all science fiction, bad, good, doesn't matter. And Slash will just dig into anything that is even horror related. They'll come on the bus with a stack of DVDs, and there'll be varying degrees of, they're usually all really gnarly, like violent and gross, but he's also pretty discerning about his quality level. So, but I just appreciate his passion about that stuff. I mean, he's the kind of guy that, he is a quiet man, and he's a very thoughtful man, which is kind of different than I expected as a kid. As a kid, I expected to see a Jack Daniels bottle and a cigarette and just this animal, just like, you know, trashing hotels, but he's not like that at all. If anything, he's
Anymore.
very thoughtful. Anymore, exactly. He's a very, yeah, as Gilby Clarke said, he goes, I don't know that Slash. I knew a different Slash, you know.
Oh, wow,
and
okay.
but he's you know, but I think at the same time, whether he was that party guy or not, he was still a very thoughtful and very intelligent guy. So you talk to him about like horror movies or books or dinosaurs or reptiles. He whatever he's into, especially guitars, stuff like that, he is really knowledgeable. So it's like, you know, but again, he's a dude. He's a regular. And the funniest thing is when you spend as much time with him as I have. I remember one time doing this Aussie. We did it was a conspirators tour, but we were following along with Aussie's. It was supposed to be a Sabbath tour, but Tony Iommi got sick.
The Aussie and Friends tour.
And it was Aussie and Friends, exactly. So he had Zach Wilde, Gus G, Geezer Butler, and Slash. So I remember, like, I was telling a story to a friend of mine. I was like, dude, I was standing side stage, and Geezer Butler was right there, and I was totally tripping. Zach Wilde, Gus G, Ozzy, Tommy was playing drums, and then I go, and Slash was there. You know, like if I didn't play with Slash every day, I would have been like, dude, Slash was there, and Geezer,
Right.
you know. But it's just, you know, you become accustomed to it. And I think that's kind of the beauty of my relationship with him is that we, you know, I generally consider him, you know, one of the go-to guys when it comes to like friends and want to talk about, we just send shit back and forth. Have you seen Nurse Ratched on Netflix yet?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. It's just totally normal,
Nice.
totally cool. You know,
I love that. That's why I asked you before, Todd, and I asked this of, you know, yeah, we can get all the rock star stories, but what are you watching? You know, I get a kick out of that. You know, that's what I would get a kick out of, you know, Slash, or just any of you. Talking to, you know, Mark about BS stuff, not always just the rock and roll lifestyle.
Right.
So if you're, and you can just, if you can say pass, or you can make a fart noise if you don't want to answer. Is there anything you could tell us about, you know, what you are working on with Slash, or what we could possibly see? Because I know Miles is doing solo stuff.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I know Slash is, I think, because of Megan. She's so cool with posting and updating the fans about other things that he's working on. Is there anything that you can possibly let us know about you guys working together coming forward?
I mean, it's super embryonic days. You know, I mean, like we're really kind of in the early stages of like just he and I basically going like knocking stuff back and forth. It's not, you know, it's really hard to say, you know, people are like, there's a new Conspirators record being made. I go, well, being made is a, you know, is a relative term. It's sort of like we're in the really early stages. Our drummer's been trapped in Canada during the quarantine. Trapped is not the word, but he's up there.
In a bear trap.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
Now that's a story. I mean, we should really flesh that one out. And then Miles took advantage of this thing right away. He's like, quarantine, boom, I'm going and making my solo stuff. And I encouraged everybody, like, just go do what you're going to do. Because, again, we didn't really have a plan together. We still don't really have a plan together. It's still just kind of like early days. And I don't know. I guess I would love to tell you more, but there really isn't much to say. It's just kind of like literally once in a while we get together, we knock some stuff around, and it's sounding killer. I always say to Slash, I go, he'll play a riff, and I'll go, I imagine some kid playing that on YouTube in 1 year from now. yeah. Whatever the riff is, it's always classic. It's always, you know, it's always like, yep, that's going to be the one that I watch some kid, you know, usually playing it incorrectly, but often he's playing correctly as well. He's always, you know, he just has classic fucking iconic riffs every time. You know?
That kid on YouTube is me, Todd.
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny. I like that answer, to be honest with you, because it's not even like you're approaching it like a business. Oh, we got to work on this album. We got to do this. You're just two friends jamming when it happens, talking about, did you see Nurse Ratched, which I can relate to. I think maybe I have an episode or two left, I think, to watch it. So I think that's awesome. And that the fact that Brandon came into your life, that you're not going nuts, because that's also what I think about. That Slash is always on the road. And for me, who always talks about mental health and keeping active and just your mind straight. I know he's been sober for a long time. He doesn't need me worrying about him. But it's just, you know, there's the musicians that they need to be out on the road. They need to do these things. Otherwise, they can get themselves in trouble. So, you know, I'm glad you're not getting yourself in trouble.
He's a very strong. He's one of the strongest people I know in multiple ways. So I actually I never really think of it that way. Like I've never really been that worried about him, but I know he is I've never known anybody to have the energy he has when it comes to creativity and productivity. Like I was telling the story, I think I probably told it to Brandon, where he would say stuff like, let's get together on Tuesday. And I would be like, okay, you know, it was like back years ago, he was doing Guns N' Roses, probably on that run that Mark did with him. And I remember him saying like, let's get together next week on Wednesday. And I go, okay, great. And I hang up my phone and I just randomly looked at some Guns N' Roses dates, and he was flying from South Africa back to America the day before. And I was like, you want to get together and rehearse like the next day after, like, because I'm crippled by jet lag. I'm just like, no, hello Netflix for a couple days, then I'll get back out into the world. He's just like, and I always appreciate that about him. I think it's really kind of rubbed off on me in a lot of ways, as far as I've always been pretty like, you know, always got something on the go, but you know, you always kind of feel like, well, if he's doing that, then, you know.
Wow, I think that's great.
It's a work ethic thing. I think he's just really has it, you know.
And it seems like it's rubbing off on all of you guys. If it's rubbed off on you, Brandon obviously had a good amount before you guys connected. And Mark,
Yeah.
I mean, what did you say? You have 7 labels?
9.
You have 9 labels?
Wow.
We bought into a label in Colorado.
How do you sleep at night and not go like have anxiety just keep you up?
Well, I don't. Being an entrepreneur, I don't get involved in any bullshit. I actually sleep really well. But
Good.
Good. There's your answer.
And you know the story,
Fair.
Brandon. You know, I've been married 4 times.
Fair.
And this my 4th marriage now, which is the best one I've had. We live separately. So she lives on this floor down there in her 3-bedder, and I live in my 2-bedder. And so we come together for dinner and, you know, whatever else. And then I just go to my wing and she goes to her wing. It's unreal. So I can stretch
Wow.
the air conditioning on, even when it's freezing outside, put the air conditioning on, watch TV, do whatever I want to do, eat chicken wings in bed, whatever I want to do, I do.
I got to subscribe to your newsletter, Mark Alexander. You got
Yeah. You got to start your own podcast just about that.
Well, yeah, I know. I've got my own podcast. But, you know,
I
but
need the
I'm
Mark Alexander Urban Master class. Where do I sign up for that at?
Yeah, it's going to be called "Don't Take Relationship Advice from Me." But you know,
I think you call it the 4th time's the charm. I think
totally.
Yeah.
No, you know what I'm going to call it? Finally. Finally.
I like that.
You know, you're always thinking. You're always, you know, I'm always, you know, I check my emails at 4 a.m. because we've got Europe and I've got America and et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
You're always thinking. You're always entrepreneurial. You're always thinking of something else. Like the minute you started talking about miles, I'm looking, 2018 Snake Pit Records under license to Sony. How do I get into Todd's mind? Start mentioning Golden Robot, Passion Miles. Great new label. Forget the majors. We want to go independent. You're always thinking, first way, get Todd to wear a Golden Robot t-shirt to band practice. Right?
There you go.
You're always thinking.
Speaking of shirts, is that a Huey Lewis in the news shirt you got on, Todd?
This is a no
Nope.
Huey, no news, no thanks.
Yeah, that's great.
Ah,
It's
even
from
better.
Riggs by Dad. I think it's a hilarious Instagram page I follow. Which jersey are you wearing, Brando? I've been trying to figure this out the whole time.
I'm wearing a Charlotte Hornets, a Larry Johnson jersey.
Okay.
I guess I wanted to
course.
support a label mate in Frank Ferrer who always does the LJ sign whenever it comes to Madison Square Garden. So I
was
would have the Golden
embarrassingly-
Robot.
I embarrassed thought it was from the Vancouver Grizzlies, a short-lived NBA team from Vancouver.
I have a hat of a original Grizzlies hat in my closet. I collect.
I used to go to
sports,
games
I did.
back when they had it in Vancouver. I used to go to games all the time. And then it didn't last. But Toronto does really well.
That's true.
I'm always repping Canada. Sorry. Another Commonwealth country, though. Mark understands.
Totally. I tell you what, we've got some great Canadian bands. We've got
You do.
the Jailbirds, Fortunate Losers, King Bull, the Bloodshots. There's a few Canadian bands that are coming through that we're really proud of.
Yeah.
Jailbirds.
With the way I love hockey, I might as well be Canadian.
Exactly.
At this point.
Yeah.
But Todd, before, because I obviously don't want to keep all of you guys here, but I would be remiss if I didn't mention this. So I finally got a chance. I interviewed Jimmy Webb.
Okay.
Obviously, before he passed away, it was in December of last year. And I hadn't even gone to, even though I live in New York, I guess I never had an opportunity to go to I Need More.
You never got to go?
I made a point when it was
Okay.
closing. So I finally got to go. And obviously, so many things are sold out. There's not many things left. I ended up grabbing just a Slash pin off the board. It's like Slash with just, no shirt on and just playing guitar, of course. But I
Right.
saw, and part of me regrets not buying it, even though it wouldn't have fit. But it was a Todd Dammit shirt, Todd Dammit Kerns T-shirt.
Oh,
And
okay.
it was like very, I think this person tweeted at me once, but it was because it was a really well done design. It was very comic booky. It looks like it was
the
the cover of,
Batman one.
Maybe,
it wasn't the Damn It Batman one. And I
Was
actually
it
think
Me
I
cartoon
tweeted,
with a guitar kind of thing or something like that?
it looks like the cover of a comic book. Honestly.
Okay, yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
It's and your hair is just
Yeah,
all
yeah,
like your head banging. And it's a beautiful shirt. And I thought it was a sign. I'm like, oh, I got to get this shirt, but I'm a medium. It was a small. I'm like,
right.
Maybe I should have bought it just to.
That's why there was the
donate
last
to
one
the
left.
funds.
An odd size, yeah.
I
No,
know, but
Jimmy,
if you can, can you talk about him a little bit? Your relationship with Jimmy Webb?
Jimmy's another one of these people that came into my life. It's so funny because since playing with Slash, I've had like I do my own talk show thing on Thursdays, and I was talking to my friend Clifton Collins Jr. He's been in like Star Trek and Pacific Rim. He was in Westworld, the new West, and as I started the thing, I was like, I usually want to start these things with how we know each other, but I'm like, how do we know each other? It was kind of like one of those weird, and I go, oh yeah, of course, you were like one of Slash's friends who hopped on the bus one day and we were fast friends, and that was the end of that. So Jimmy is one of those characters from the New York Village, St. Mark's Place. He used to be at Trash and Vaudeville. It's on 7th now, I think. And he was just I used to spend a lot of time in New York. I was signed to Mercury out of New York in the 90s. That's in the 1900s, Brandon. You might. But so I always saw him there. It was always like, he's awesome and that kind of thing. But it wasn't until it was Slash that Jimmy became like a part of our world. Like he just was around and he was just always there with us. So we spent a hard 10 years together. Just like, he would come out and visit us, Europe, ride on the bus, live with us. And just like one of those like amazing souls, you know what I mean? And you meet them all the time. It's like, you just got to keep your eyes and ears and your heart open for them when they show up. So, he went off and opened his own store. He left Trash and Vaudeville, opened up I Need More on the Lower East Side. And we were always there. We were actually always at Trash and Vaudeville too. So now we were always, whenever we were in the city, then we'd be hanging out at his place. So, he was just, the fascinating thing is you don't know how far someone has reached until they're gone. Like, and then all of a sudden everybody comes out of the woodwork, from Debbie Harry to Iggy Pop to Ewan McGregor, and we're all just like this inundation of love and celebration of his life, And I think if you knew Jimmy, he was just this big beaming ball of light. Like he would just, I had a bass made, my intention was to have a bass made for him, a kind of hot pink of my signature bass that I do. And I was going to take it around the world on the next tour, whenever the hell that's going to be. And I was going to take it and I was going to put it right on the wall of his store and say, that's for you. Wow. So the fact that he passed, in the saddest thing about any of this stuff is whenever, I've lost a lot of friends in my life, just, due to sickness and whatnot. And your intention is always like, this is just going to be a thing that we go through, and we're going to look back on this as that crazy time Jimmy got sick. But, it just sort of got, it just eventually just got the better of him. And that was that. So it was, unfortunately in those situations, by the time it's so bad, you haven't really had time to wrap your head around it until someone tells you, this is, not good, and then you're like, oh, damn, I would have done so much differently and I would have made so many more efforts. But of course, it's during COVID and all that, which was the worst. So by the time we knew that it was very serious, obviously it's always serious, but by the time we knew it was really serious, there was nothing any of us could do, even to go and say goodbye and anything. So, but at the end of the day, Duff McKagan and Slash and Ewan McGregor and Debbie Harry and Iggy Pop and all of us, we just love him to death. And, it's one of those amazing things. I wrote a song about him and I'm going to try and include it on a solo album. or something
Oh, wow.
down the line. I got to talk to Golden Robot Records about my. There you go. Boom.
I've got the best.
Get the pen ready.
Would it be funny if I just pulled it? Yeah, like.
I love that. Well,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I appreciate you sharing those words, Todd. And I was very lucky that he came in studio, that I got to meet him. And I'll be forever grateful to, and I want to give her a shout out, Lee Williams from the UK.
Yeah.
She sold a lot of her artwork.
Yeah.
She's a sweetheart. And I really appreciate her setting that up. And she vouched for me, because sometimes it's like, hey, this kid who has a GNR podcast wants to interview you. You never know what that really entails.
See?
But
When Leah vouches for you. When Leah vouches for you the same way that Jeremy vouched for Brandon. See, it's all about the vouching. Yeah.
Oh, look at that. Yes, look at it all. It's all full circle.
Yeah.
So I think
It's all
this
about
is,
Yeah. Leah, you got to know Leah and Jeremy. Then you go far in life.
Brandon's being quiet. He's actually sitting there playing video games while we're
I'm sitting here watching porn on my phone.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
I can see the flash.
and I got it.
All the duty flashes. I know what they look like.
Well, this is awesome. I know Minefield is up on all social media platforms. I know the Instagram page is new, the Twitter page is new, the Facebook page is new. The single Alone Together is out now. Is there anything? Should we just enjoy that for now and wait for the next thing, or is there like a teaser you can let us know yet?
Just
Let us know.
enjoy it and get excited about what's next, because if you're happy with this, you're going to be more than happy with the next few things.
Well, one thing we did announce today on Mike Brunn's show was that
he's been cheating on you with Mike Brunn. See,
Brando's don't start a conversation up like that.
I'm not the only podcast.
Yeah.
Hey man, I'll make a residency with y'all. We'll work it out. But one thing we did announce that we are going to be including a cover of Kiss's All American Man on this.
That's right.
So,
which I'm calling All Canadian Man. I don't know if it's
I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, how ironic is that we got Todd singing this song?
We should just do it for other markets. We'll change it to like all Australian Man, all Finnish Man, all
beautiful.
Swedish Man.
Nice.
That's how you
It'd
move.
be like when David
That's
Lee Roth
marketing.
did Edelman Smile in Spanish.
All in Spanish, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh,
there's
beautiful.
Beatles songs. There's rare Beatles songs. You can hear them in German. Like they actually recorded versions of "She Loves You" was a "Sie liebt dich" and other songs like that. Yeah. So back in those days, it was very common to cut something in French, which I'm sure they just learned phonetically. Like just say this. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I can only think of 99 Luftballons, the English version, and the
yeah, which started in German. Although there's like Falco and groups like that too, who were all like German groups that were brought over and had to be
Rock Me Amadeus.
Yeah, put into English and stuff like that. Yeah.
Right on. Well,
but yeah, All American Man is the plan for our cover at the moment. So yeah, we're big Kiss fans. I don't know if you knew that or not, but we could probably kill 1 hour right now if you just start right now. We'll spend an hour talking about Kiss, but don't do that
and that's just getting warmed up.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
That's
really
only if one
amazing.
of us get to talk.
Yeah.
It's amazing for this is a GNR themed podcast. The amount that Kiss is brought up. And it's usually from the guests that are so influenced by Kiss. And, I don't know, maybe.
Slash was a big Ace guy, so it makes sense.
Well, a lot of it is that kind of like right age group, which I think is fascinating talking to a guy like Brandon, because we had a long conversation about guys who found the original band and then other guys who were a little younger who found them in the non-makeup years. You know what I mean? So there's so many different chapters of Kiss. But the fact that it has such a longevity to still stick around and influence guys, 20, 30 years younger, it's just like, it's fascinating to me. But I attribute it to, I love the tunes. Like we can, I've had, long conversations about, isn't it just about makeup and fire and blood?
I'm trying to get like the wall for you.
It is.
I don't think I can.
Yeah. Are you trying to kill a huntsman spider? What are you doing over there?
No. I got Love Gun up there signed, and I was going to pull it off the wall and show Brandon, because I've got a whole lot of stuff signed. But Love Gun's next to Van Halen Diver Down sign.
Whenever this album goes platinum, you can give me the Love Gun autograph as a gift.
I normally buy Harleys, but you can have that. That's fine.
Wow,
Okay,
there
yeah.
you go. Wow.
I'll tell you what, you just take me for a spin in one of those badass cars you're always posting about, and I'll be satisfied.
Is that an actual cricket bat or a baseball bat?
That's a baseball bat. When
Yeah.
I used to own pubs years ago and venues, and we had these tours that used to go through, and there was a full-on gangster in Australia, a guy called Chopper Reed. Do you ever hear of him?
Okay. I've heard that before. Yeah, that name.
Anyway,
Yeah.
he signed,
Uncle of Dizzy.
what's that?
Uncle of Dizzy. It was
Yeah.
not a funny joke to repeat, so continue.
No. So Chopper Reed, there was a bad cop called Roger Rogerson who's actually in jail at the moment. He signed that. And then there was a football player called Mark Jackson. Anyway, they did this tour in 2004 and signed it. So it's always there to, kill huntsman spiders.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
I've been to Australia 1,000 times. I'm always disappointed that I don't see huntsman spiders. I actually I say that kind of jokingly.
I was like, what the hell is wrong with
Well,
you?
I don't want to see it. I don't want to see it in my hotel room or anything. But I would like someone to go, look, there's one right there, and go like, oh my god! But I've never seen it.
It's like kickboxing with a kangaroo or something.
Well, that's what people think. Kangaroos on the street, and there's koalas in the trees. But
No, I
Todd,
know.
let's be honest, the bands that you're touring with, they're not slumming it when they're in Sydney. There's no spiders in the rooms.
Generally. And I also think it's kind of like one of those things as a Canadian that I expect. I was in Canada and I didn't see a moose. It's like, well, they're in the wild, my friend. It's like generally that's, not the case. There was no beavers in the city. It's like.
I'll never forget when I was dating a girl in Ottawa years ago, and it was the first time I saw a black squirrel. I'm like, what the hell is that? Because they're all gray here in America, as far as at least I've grown up with. I'm like, why is what happened to that squirrel? So
there's all different kinds up there. I know. Yeah.
Fucking squirrels.
Yeah.
we'll save this for part 2. We'll talk about squirrels around the world and huntsman spiders.
The nature program.
Yeah.
Todd, by the way, what is I'm sure people who are listening already know, but the name of is that the Toddcast? Is that what you're talking about? The podcast
I just started doing it. I honestly, this is the funniest thing about it is in Vegas, I sit in, when I'm home, I sit in with these guys called Rating the Rockfall. And it's like a Vegas show. They do classic rock tunes, and it's Howard Leese from Heart. I'm dropping names again, guys. Watch your toes.
Pick it up.
Blas Elias from Slaughter, and just a whole bunch of my friends. Rowan Robertson used to be in Dio, and everybody's like from something, and I would sit around. I'm such a rock fan that I'll sit in the dressing room going, "Hey Howard," and I'll just start talking about. I heard Barracuda on the car ride over. What guitar were you playing on that? And he'll just tell you a story, and I'm like. And every time I have one of these conversations with one of my musician friends, I think to myself, man, who wouldn't want to hear this? Like, I know how much of a nerd I am. I know not everybody wants to hear this. My wife just immediately turns into like white noise, just like as soon as we start talking about gear or whatever. But so I just started doing it myself. I just call it Todd Kerns Talks To. And then every week it's like, tomorrow I'm talking to Dave Ellefson from Megadeth. Last week was Frank Bello from Anthrax.
So I've had them both on the show. Yeah.
Those guys, those guys are like, awesome. and I always have to stop because I'm like, as a kid, those guys were like, I've been doing a Frank Bello impression when I play bass since I was 14. So to me, it's like, I just really love it. I really enjoy it. It mostly just started as kind of like, talking to my friends and nobody I've talked to, like none of the people that I've talked to are people I don't know. I've only ever talked to people I know. I don't really foresee it kind of turning into like, here's somebody I've never spoken to or I don't know. I mean, I think that might be kind of fun, but at the same time, it's like everybody I've talked to has been, because it's a long list. When you start going down your list of like all the musicians I know, all the people that I really appreciate, actors, comedians, So eventually, yeah, sure, it'd be great if somebody I didn't know wanted to talk to me, that'd be great too. But in the meantime, it's just been like, I'm talking to Blas Elias right away. Nick Reese from Joyous Wolf, great band. Chris Jericho, the wrestler, and Fozzy, obviously.
Sure.
So just all these guys are all guys I know from years of playing.
Chris Jericho, the wrestler, what?
Yeah. The singer for Fozzy's also a wrestler. Yeah.
And he's Canadian.
Is he exactly?
So wait, what hockey team do you root for? Because he's a Jets
Winnipeg
fan.
Jets.
Isn't Brent?
He's a Winnipeg Jets. Yeah. Oh yeah.
So is Brent
Fitz,
right?
Jets fan. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
So okay, right. And so who do you root for then?
Well, I grew up in a I grew up in a town.
Oh, you're the Knights.
Yeah,
you're the Golden Knights now.
The Golden Knights here in Vegas. Yeah, but I grew up in a town in Saskatchewan, never had a national hockey team. So in a lot of ways, the Jets were the closest. But of course, when we were kids, Edmonton Oilers, Wayne Gretzky was like a god, and he's still a god in Canada, really, probably a god in certain parts of the States. So that was kind of our team. But, as I've, I'm living in Vegas, and I wave the Knights flag high because, it's literally like one day there was no hockey in this town at all. And the next day that Knights logo is everywhere, like on the cars, on the shirts. And it's like, I've watched it. It feels like Canada. Like it just immediately turned into a hockey town overnight.
Oh, you must have loved it. You must have
It's
felt
the
it right
best.
now.
Yeah, we love it. And the games here are out of control. Like for old school guys who would go and see like the Rangers or say Detroit or Boston, to come to a Vegas game, it's so entertaining, but a lot of the old school guys get really pissed off. Like, it's like a Vegas show. I go, well, it's in Vegas. What are you going to do? Yeah. There's showgirls and pyro and like all kinds of nonsense. It's great.
Well, I was hoping to maybe play them in the Stanley Cup final as an Islander fan, but that's,
I know. Actually, I'm excited for the Islanders, though. I am excited for the Islanders. I think.
Well, we'll see. Maybe that's what we should do. Todd, if you ever want to do a hockey podcast, let's do it. Let's do it.
I have cousins.
This was
I have
fun.
cousins who have been in the NHL, so we could go a long way on this. Yeah.
Oh wow, awesome,
Yeah.
very cool.
Yeah.
Well, Todd, it was awesome just to speak with you
You
again.
too,
I know
bro.
I've wanted you to come back on the show for a bit, but I'm glad it happened this way with Brandon. I love that you didn't have a name for the band when you were originally on, and now it's, I don't know, it was like we had a
Now it's
prequel.
out.
Now it's now it's out, and Mark, we've emailed back and forth. I miss you. We got to find the right time for you to co-pilot, and this was the right time.
Yeah, let's keep doing more. And I've got to get you on my 7 minutes max.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't know if I can control myself to only 7 minutes because
And they never do.
I have, I
I've
can't,
never done one in 7 minutes. It's always fucking 20 minutes.
false advertising.
It's like metric. It's a metric 7 minutes. Yeah.
Totally.
Well, this was so much fun. I'm sure we will all do this again, whether it's alone together or separately or whatever. To see
He
how
said
I
it.
in.
He said the
I did.
catchphrase.
Yeah.
I said the name in the movie. In the movie.
Yeah, in the movie, exactly. Apocalypse Now? No, no one says that in the movie.
So, that was like a Family Guy joke. I was just
Yeah,
watching.
it is.
The Family Guy joke was like, I guess now we're going to have to die hard for.
Oh, beautiful.
Amazing.
Well, thank you guys so much. I thank everyone for hanging out once again on another edition of Appetite for Distortion. Please leave a review or comment however you listen, iHeartRadio or Apple Podcasts, and follow on social media. That's where the conversation continues between the podcasts, and that's where you'll see I posted I shared
You
the
post awesome
Minefield
stuff all the time.
Well, thank you,
especially
including the Minefield lyric video.
And the Simpsons comic that I sent you with the when you had Harry Shearer on that had the
That's
GNR
right.
reference in it.
That's
Man,
right. That you did. See, I love this. See, Brandon even contributes. He produces this show sometimes.
Hey, I'm a man of all
Line producer.
trades. Yeah.
There you go. There you
Beautiful.
go.
So until
The
next
whiz
time, when will you see the next episode of the AFD show? Well, the words of Axl Rose concerning Chinese democracy. You'll see it. I don't know if soon is the word.
We just got to get Dr. Pepper to say they'll give everybody a free drink if you don't put it out. So you'll be pressured to put it out.
There you go.
Or Labatt Blue.
Thanks,
There you
boys.
go. The Bat Blue.
Thank you.
That one snuck past me.
Right on.
Later, gents.
Thanks, boys.
All right.
Talk to
Good
you soon.
talking.
Thank you.
Take care.
See you soon.